You're not going to build something as great as it could be. You're not going to lead as well as you could if you're running on empty. Maybe make some memes, which you can also do on your phone if you're on a desert island.
If you imagine back at the start of your career, no bags, no reputation, no connections in the space, no black book, what are the 5 things you would bring to that desert island in terms of the essentials to help accelerate yourself on that journey?
Absolutely, outside of like a very strong SPF. I don't know if this one counts, but your phone. Because Telegram. So I don't know if Telegram is allowed as a desert island
Hmm.
one. So say
Yeah, of course.
no one, um, but you have Telegram. You can go on and join all of these little communities and groups and start talking. Start
Mm,
sharing your thoughts, maybe make some memes, which you can also do on your phone if you're on a desert island. But really start getting out there and building those connections because I have found that some communities more so than others. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but folks like to engage. And if you're trying to get started in Web3 and start building those connections, offer your thoughts. If someone shares something in the Telegram group that you're in that you think is interesting, respond and comment on it. Drop some fun like emojis on the different comments. There's just start really consistently engaging, and that's a great way to build things up a little bit when you don't have
Hmm.
that level of connectivity, when you don't have those connections that you already, have later in your career. So that's a big one, I think. Another one is if you can get your hands on a book that is focused more on broader, almost psychology behind marketing and business. And, it's not going to be a perfect application to all things Web3, but I think it's important for us to consistently get out of our own bubbles. And there are things that have already been done and thought through and researched that still work when it comes to Web3. And one of the books I do like is focused on behavioral science in marketing, and it's just really digs into, so really that book, I think it's called Behavioral Science and Marketing, or any of those more psychology-based books will get you a lot further than some of these hyper tailored, it's only good for 10 minutes because we're trying to capitalize on this type of NFT, you know, explosion or something like that, because there are certain factors that really drive people. And whether it's like we've talked about, understanding that people want to be part of a community and really what drives that, or understanding some of the interesting biases that people have around, abundance versus scarcity, I think it helps you just understand your fellow humans a little bit better and really understand and reorient yourself consistently towards people time and time again. And those have been really key ones. I think in terms of online courses, I feel like I am on a constant hunt for interesting courses. And I don't currently have a absolute favorite. So I'm actually interested to hear if either of one of you guys have one. I think I've touched on a number of them. I think that there's some really interesting courses for free offered by large, like major universities. There's ones that are affordable from Stanford that focus on blockchain. But when I think about starting a project as a founder, those can be great background and great way to connect with people, but just don't currently have a favorite. Have you guys taken any that you thought were really remarkable?
Me personally,
Yeah.
generally understanding venture finance is probably one of the, like, any course from any reputable school. Do your 2 or 3 months in that, really going to help you.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't do courses. I know everything.
Then you need
I'd
to make
say
some courses.
I'd say
There we go.
from that perspective, I would say
Reddit.
reading. It's not really a course, but it is go back to somewhere like I'm going to be biased, but go onto CryptoSlate, because I genuinely think that the way we report stuff, we only report things that are really important, and maybe Decrypt I'd maybe recommend. But there's so much fluff that other people report on. Like,
Mm.
we don't. I look through the news feeds every day, and there's so many stories that our competitors run that we just won't run because it's just fluff. But if you go back through the last cycle and read the news feed, the headlines of all the stories for the last from 2020 to now, that would give you so much insight into the space.
Yeah, I think that that's awesome. I think I'd grab both of those if you have a lot of time on a desert island, being able to read through everything, be able to understand venture finance is really essential. And then I would also look at something if you can grab, or just something that inspires you that isn't directly necessarily Web3. So if you have a favorite, whether it's a fantasy novel, historical fiction, whether it's an art book, something like that. Because I find that sometimes when you're laser focused on a challenge or a problem or building a company, you sometimes lose touch with these other elements outside of that that would actually lead to something better. Like I
Mm.
know I come up with my best strategies and campaigns sometimes when I'm out engaging with something else, or even though you can't bring an art museum to a desert island, like a art book or something that just kind of taps into another part of you that you're excited, that gives you that energy to keep going. And I think sometimes we forget about that, honestly. And kind of in line with that is also something healthy. I know that's not directly a startup tool, but I think a lot of times when we're building, building, building and focus, 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 we forget to look after ourselves. And you're not going to build something as great as it could be. You're not going to lead as well as you could if you're running on empty. And there's a
Mhm.
degree of, getting in everything that you possibly can. But I would really emphasize like a little bit of balance. I mean, it's like this is so tired, but the whole little bit of self care, whether it's like healthy eating, don't just try to exist on what was trendy for a while, like Soylent, those drinks. Don't just like eat protein bars. Don't forget to like, you know, shower, do whatever to kind of take care of yourself because I think it's easy to get swept up in the excitement like we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier, but bringing some sort of essential with you on this journey that makes you feel like a person who's taking care of themselves will actually go a long way and beautifully complement all of the kind of harder strategic elements that we talked about and that behavioral science, research and reading those headlines and understanding venture finance. Make sure you're looking after yourself too, basically.
One of my favorite business books is called Rest by Alex Sujong Park, and it's about not working.
Oh, I
And
love that.
yeah, it's one of the most impactful books I've read. And they say, and he brings on all of those ideas, so it's well worth a read as well.
I'll
Yeah,
definitely
touch
check that
grass,
out.
as they say.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So I think those are my essentials. Are there any essentials that I missed that you guys think you would take with you to the desert island?
Oh, we don't usually get it turned
Yeah, no
around
one's
on
Yeah.
asked.
us.
Well, I need to know if I should be packing something else too. So
I think, like you said, I think your phone. I think and I think that's so much more prescient than it kind of sounds as well. Because 25 years ago, you wouldn't have thought that that would be like just a
Yeah.
phone. Like, oh, so you can call people. Like these mini computers we have are so powerful. Like it shows how much the world has changed. I thought it was a brilliant thing I saw on Reddit that they were talking about. Like millennials think that big purchases require big screens. So if you're going to buy like flights, it has to be on a desktop. You
I
can't
saw
book
that.
flights on a mobile phone. Well, generations are doing that now, and it's becoming more and more a thing. Like it's not going to be the case for long. So being able to realizing you can do anything from your phone and not limiting yourself by thinking, oh, I need a computer for that.
Yeah, I really like that.
I think for me, it'd be the phone's a good one, but for me, it's just this isn't something you can bring with you, but it's just reduce your cost as much as possible. So, like just ensure that you're living as sustainable a life as possible. So when I was at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I was living in the city in London, moved back home, and that's just part of my story. But I'm not ashamed of it. It's just what happened. When I could just about afford anything, I then moved to Lisbon. It's much cheaper than central London, right? It just is. I
Yeah.
think keeping an eye on lifestyle is important. To your point, Kelsey, around that you still need to have a life, and you can get pretty far in Estonia and Lisbon and countries like this on what you would spend on a night at like one dinner in London. And I think just people need to be conscious of that because a lot of the bigger conferences are in these like city centers, and actually a lot of the building doesn't need to happen there.
I think that's something. I think it's amazing to hear Charlie saying that, because that's something that Charlie would only want to work when we first met. Like, the idea of having a life outside of work wasn't something that you thought was conducive to good work. Like, now you're now you're adding, and I was the same. I had my creative director in my company that I founded was the same. He believed in work-life balance. I just wanted to work all the time. Took me 6 years to realize that he was right all along. I met Charlie and the roles were reversed. And now you've seen the light and know that rest is conducive to good work.
Yeah,
It is.
that's great. I'm glad you've had a transformation, Charlie. I had one too many, nights where I'm just like, oh, let me finish one more thing. Let me finish one more thing. That's 3 or 4 a.m. and you have to wake up in 2 hours. And after a while, I'm just like, you know what? I'm not thinking of any interesting creative concepts on
Mm-hmm.
1 hour of sleep, So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really great, I think, push forward, and we cannot, continue to glorify the working 24/7, because the results just aren't as good.
The
Yeah.
hustle culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's the whole mental, like, we can argue for the mental health aspect and the work-life balance, but if you want to just look at it from the raw, like, facts, you will be more productive and you'll be better at your job if you have some space from it.